Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to walk you through the Sumo Logic transaction tracing live demo today. Let's wait for a few seconds for rest of the people to join, and we will be getting started shortly. All right, so let's get started for the day. So I'm going to walk you through the Sumo Logic transaction tracing. So in order to meet all your reliability requirements, you must be able to collect not only data from your logs and metrics, but also from traces as well. With Sumo Logic, we provide you capabilities to collect all your data in the form of logs, metrics, and traces. And once we collect all this data, we help you to monitor your environment very efficiently. You can detect known as well as unknown application reliability issues, and you can get alerted in near real time. Once we give you the right set of alerts, we help you to diagnose the issues where you can identify which services or components are impacting your application reliability and availability. And finally, we help you to monitor and troubleshoot. We can help you to uncover the root cause of your application reliability issues, and we can help you to quickly restore your service and then remediate your applications so that you provide very high levels of reliability and availability for your customers. With Sumo Logic, we not only help you to get near real-time alerts, we help you to navigate from your infrastructure to the various different entities to the root cause quickly. So you can monitor your infrastructure, you can diagnose where the issues are actually happening, as well as you can quickly troubleshoot and then resolve issues and maintain very high levels of availability. What is a transaction tracing? Transaction tracing, as the name says, is all about tracing the transactions back. We are predominantly looking about microservices where hundreds or in fact thousands of services are interacting with each other. With transaction tracing, you can trace the transactions of your users back to the different microservices components. It can be like service A interacts with B, B in turn interacts with C, C in turn interacts with D. You can visualize all those relationships. You can also understand where are latencies occurring, where are issues occurring, and which microservice is actually responsible for your application not working as per your expectation. On why tracing? With tracing, you can actually look at transactional level troubleshooting, where we can look into which particular microservices or components are actually taking more time than what has been planned. You can check for which transactions are taking longer time. You can also visualize all the relationship between various different entities. And with service maps and flow diagrams, we can help you to visualize the data the way users see the stack. We can help you to understand the relationships and dependencies between your various different services, and it automatically gets built up, so you don't have to manually build, you don't have to manually track all those interrelationships. With the application level monitoring, we can help you to understand where are your current response times and where are errors occurring, so you can track all your SLAs, SLOs. We can help you to identify faulty software components, and then we can show you the breakdown to which particular component, breakdown of operations, essentially, we can show you here. Our tracing capability is powered by OpenTelemetry. OpenTelemetry has a wide range of advantages over the traditional methods. So with the OpenTelemetry, you own the data, you instrument your data, and then it is completely owned by you. So you can enhance the telemetry according to your needs rather than depending upon a specific vendor code or a specific vendor agent. So tomorrow, if you want to change the backend, you can always change it, and then you can visualize all your telemetry data because this telemetry data is created by you and it belongs to you. And we provide much more visibility into your telemetry data. So you can quickly look into all your different transactions, traces, and then there is a much more wider support which is available for the open telemetry based transaction tracing today. And with respect to cost, more and more software frameworks are supporting open telemetry out of the box. This also helps you to avoid costly vendor lock-ins. So in case you want to change your backend tomorrow, you can always change it. You won't have to depend on any vendor for that. Let us look at what leading industry analysts are talking about. Let's look at a couple of Gartner quotes here. Gartner says that by 2025, 50% of new cloud-native application monitoring will be using open source instrumentation instead of vendor-specific agents for improved interoperability, up from 5% in 2019. So this clearly shows that the industry is moving towards open telemetry-based transaction tracing. You can also see prioritized support for standard interfaces in the collection and processing of instrumentation. So these statements clearly shows that the industry is moving towards the open telemetry based standards, and we are pioneering and we are leading in that particular space. Let us look at how we can onboard the tracing data. This is a collection diagram where you can clearly see how we can actually collect data from a diverse set of sources. So we support open telemetry, open tracing, open sensors, and if we have any service mesh, Istio, etc., we can collect the data. We also support Zipkin, Eager, and there's a wide range of auto instrumentation available for Java, JavaScript, Java Node, Python, Ruby, .NET, etc. So we can collect data. Once we instrument the code, we have a Sumo Logic collector, which basically collects all those data, and then we send it to the Sumo Logic SaaS platform. Once the data reaches the platform, you can visualize all your traces. You can look at all of your spans, etc. This is a collection diagram which shows the Kubernetes-based environment. We use the open source based collection mechanisms like Fluentbit, Fluentd, Prometheus, OpenTelemetry, and Falco to collect data of logs, events, metrics, traces, and security respectively. So if you are using a Kubernetes-based environment, it's as simple as you can enable collection of tracing as part of our collection mechanism. We help you to get the Kubernetes collection installed using a simple Helm command. So we automatically install all those open source based collection agents, the Fluentbit, Fluentd, Prometheus, OpenTelemetry, Falco, etc. So you don't have to install all of them separately. Let us get on to a live demo to see how the transaction tracing looks in Sumo Logic. What you're seeing now is a Sumo Logic interface. Once you log into the interface, you can see various different menu options out here. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to move into a new, and then I'm going to show my service map over here. So here you can see this particular demo environment is built with microservices. It is hosted out of a Kubernetes sort of an environment. And here you can see the service map clearly showing up the various different entities and the relationship between them. Here we are looking at a coffee machine, which is one of the demo applications over here. I can go ahead and then I can filter out for the coffee bar app, and you can see the service map getting filtered out for that. You can hide the remote services if you want, etc. And you can type any service name that you want and all the rest stuff. And here you can see the service map automatically shows any anomalies in this particular environment. You can see the normal, the red ones are basically anomalies. These are inactive services and all the rest. You can see all of them over here. And let me look out for the coffee bar app, which is going to be the application of interest for us for this particular demo. So from here, I can actually get onto my service level status. So I can see these various different relationships here. I can see the calculator service interacts with the cache disk. The coffee bar app is interacting with the coffee machine, which in turn interacts with the coffee machine service, water service, etc. And I can see a couple of reds over here. If I hover my mouse, it shows the anomalies. The last 15-minute KPI, the latency is 98% over normal. Similarly, you can see the coffee service also showing latency abnormality, 104%, much more over the normal, etc. So we can also tune these parameters by going to setting over here. You can set up the thresholds, learning windows, all of them. I can change this as per my sensitivity of my applications, etc. So let us now get on to the coffee machine and then see the SLAs of this particular machine. I'm looking at the coffee machine and I can see on the right hand side the entities are opening up. I can actually go to the related the coffee bar app and I can see the summary being shown here. My latency is shown here, requests, errors, etc. And I would like to take a closer look at the coffee machine service. Now you can see the coffee machine service actually coming up over here, and you can see the application service overview. And here you can see the golden signals of this application being shown here, the latency, the request, as well as the error percentage. All the three are shown over here. The service dependency for the coffee machine shows the flow of all my traffic. You can see the traces going through the coffee machine, etc. And I can also see the latency, the requests, as well as the errors. So I would like to see the data for a little longer duration. So I can choose a 3 hours, 60 minutes, any duration that I want. So I am actually choosing the last 60 minutes. And here I can see the latency actually spiking up. And I also see an anomaly detection, which shows that there is an abnormal jump with respect to my latency. I would like to take a closer look. So I can click this. I can go to my entities, and then I would like to go and take a closer look at the traces to see if there is any dependency or if any of my downstream services actually affecting my application. So here I can see the coffee bar app. The filter is automatically set up over here, and I can choose data for, say, for example, last 60 minutes. And that gives me all the traces for my coffee bar application, my coffee machine application. And you can see the trace ID over here, the root service, the root operation name. You can also see the duration, the number of spans, which is seen here, duration breakdown, number of errors, status, etc. And hovering my mouse over the trace, I can see the various different components which are contributing for this particular trace over here. So what I'm actually going to do here is that I'm going to take one or two traces to see how this particular data is helpful for us. So I'm going to choose one of this particular traces out here, and let us see what I see over here. Here I can see the filters are automatically applied, and I can see there are 11 error spans over here, and I can see the order flow. I can see there is a slash order which goes to HTTP post client, and I can see the request following through over here. I can zoom in to take a closer look at any of these particular services. Here I can see the various different spans and the durations it has basically taken. And it also shows me the various different services for which the spans are actually part of. I also see a red bar over here. The red bar generally means an error. And here I can see the error is actually propagated from one of the spans and it has actually spanned back. So I want to take a closer look at this. So it looks like there is a post get beans is a trace which is facing issues. So I'm choosing this. Here I can see a rich set of metadata here. I can see the span ID, trace ID. I can see the service from which it actually came. I can also see the parent span, status, critical path. I can see all those data. And if it is a Kubernetes environment, again, I can see a rich set of metadata here, which helps me to get additional context. It shows all the details about the application. It shows my Kubernetes cluster. It also shows me my Sumo Logic details as well. And if necessary, I can go to my entities, and then I can go to my related entities as well for my monitoring as well as my troubleshooting purposes. So for this particular demo, I would like to take a look at as to why there is an error which is seen over here. So I'm going to open up this particular log to see if I'm seeing any corresponding logs. And here I can see that there is a response code 502, which is actually giving rise to some communication between this particular entities over here. Right, so I can get more details about where this particular trace is interacting from, etc. Similarly, I can actually go back to my other traces for looking into why latencies are actually happening. I can filter out all my traces based on the latencies. And I'm going to take a closer look at one or two transactions over here. I can see there is a 5.21 seconds, which has actually happened for this particular transaction. I am opening up this particular trace over here. And here again, I can see there are some errors which are actually seen over here. And I'm going to zoom over to see if I can find out why there is some error which is actually happening. I am choosing this water service. And I can again go back to my logs to see if there is any error which is actually shown at the logging level. So here I can see there is an order received for hot water, and then I see the error is that there is not enough water. So this particular transaction has actually failed. So this clearly shows me why this particular transaction actually failed, because there is lack of water in the water machine. So it is actually failing. So like this, I can actually open up furthermore, and then I can take a closer look at all these different transactions, entities, etc. I can look at the relationships, where the latencies are occurring, where there are errors which are actually seen. I can look at all of them over here. So having seen that, let's look at some other interesting, exciting stuff in transaction tracing capability. With Sumo Logic, we treat all the transaction data very similar to logs. So I can actually open up the logs over here. I can go to services equal to the coffee machine, which is the focus of this particular live webinar today. And I can actually look at duration. Maybe I can look at my average duration, and then I can group this by maybe time of every 1 minute. And I can ask the system to basically look into this traces. Now I can see that the data from all my traces are treated very similar to the way the logs are treated. And I can look at my aggregates here, which shows me the average latency. So just like logs, I can actually run queries on top of my traces, and I can generate all this different graphs, etc. And I can monitor my own parameters of interest using the spans capability. Let's now get back to the slide deck. Why are we better? We are part of an overall observability. The tracing is given as part of Sumo Logic overall observability platform. So it is not a standalone one. So you get the combined power of logs, metrics, traces, as well as security. So it's not a standalone tool. And we provide you open, flexible environment without having to do any costly vendor lock-ins. So the telemetry is created by you and then you own it. It's scalable and secure by design, as we are a SaaS platform. We analyze petabytes of data, millions of transactions every day. So you have a highly scalable platform, which is inherent by design. You get the same great analytics as for the log data. So you can bring in your traces, you can analyze all the traces, you can look at all the relationships, you can look at all your latencies, where they're happening, which microservice component is responsible for failure of your application, etc. And you can treat them very similar to the logs, as I showed you as part of this live demo, where you can query your traces as well, similar to the logs. And the pricing is based on the data volumes. So it is like pay as you go, as you keep growing, as you pay, as you put in more data into the platform, then you can actually simply look at buying additional licenses to cater to your needs. So that's a quick live demo that I wanted to show you as part of our transaction tracing. Feel free to raise your questions here. There is a Q&A button. Feel free to ask your questions, and then I will answer all of your queries to the best of my knowledge. There is a question. The question is, how can I keep my data within India? With Sumo Logic, we provide you multiple instances across the globe. So you can decide to keep the data in whichever geography that you want to meet your data localization and compliance requirements. For India-specific customers, we have an Sumo Logic instance hosted out of AWS Mumbai. So all your data can be kept within India. If you're looking at US, we have a couple of instances in the United States. We have a couple of Sumo Logic instances in Europe, one instance in Japan, and one in Australia. So you can decide where you want to keep your data depending upon your data localization needs. Have another question here. I have a Kubernetes environment. How will you support tracing in this? So as I explained to you earlier, with Kubernetes, you can simply collect the tracing data as part of the Kubernetes collection mechanism. We have well-established documentation which shows how you can set up tracing as part of your Kubernetes data collection. So we can bring in all the data, and then we can show you all the power of the open telemetry plus tracing using your Kubernetes traces. There is a question here, how is the solution priced? The Sumo Logic solution is based on the amount of data that you send into the platform. The sizing is something like 100 GB per day, 50 GB per day. So it is totally based on the amount of traffic measured as GB per day into the platform. There are a couple of other minor considerations, like where do you want to keep your, which geography that you want to keep your data, whether you want to retain your data for a longer duration, etc. I suggest you to talk to our account executives or reach back to us. We can work with you to make a solution, and we can show you the cost-effective way to own this model.